Back here now on the show, and just kind of continuing on from where we left off in the last segment, we are going to be looking at the Minnesota Vikings and their impressive win over the Arizona Cardinals this past Sunday. Arizona was moments away, though, from rebounding from their previous loss to the Seattle Seahawks that knocked them out of the playoffs and out of that number one spot in the NFC West. But when it looked like they were about to win, Minnesota overcame a 13-point deficit to win 23-22 in the end for their fifth straight win of the season, or of this five-game winning streak, I should say, not of the season. They are 10-2 right now in the fifth spot in the playoffs, and the victory for Minnesota keeps them on Detroit's heels as the number five seed and only one game behind the Detroit Lions for that number one overall seed, technically, and also the division title. Obviously, they still have one more game to play in Detroit, but still a head-to-head matchup to settle that. But also on the other side, Arizona drops to 6-6 and in ninth place right now in the playoff race. And the Buccaneers, with their latest, little win streak, they're able to jump over them as well. So they have an advantage over the Arizona Cardinals as well. And while it did take another late touchdown drive by Sam Darnold, Arizona had done enough, really, I thought, to steal this game, but they were really let down and harmed by their own mistakes, where on one team, you have Sam Darnold orchestrate this great late game comeback, 13-point deficit erased to win this game. You had the other quarterback on the other side, Kyler Murray, throw two interceptions in the fourth quarter, much less, and hurt their chances, I think. Not directly like the main reason why they lost, but when you do compare it like that, and, like I said, one quarterback leads a game-winning drive, and, Kyler Murray on the other side throws two interceptions, it doesn't look great, and a lot of people just gravitate directly to that, and it is disappointing, kind of like the Falcons loss. They got a good performance from their defense, much like the Cardinals. They sacked Sam Darnold 5 times in this game, and they recovered a fumble as well from Aaron Jones. And it looked like it was going to be enough, but, things fell apart there in the end. And despite, what we said on the two interceptions from Kyler Murray, he threw for 260 yards. James Conner had a better performance on the ground with 68 rushing yards, and Trey McBride had himself a day with 12 receptions for 96 receiving yards, and Marvin Harrison scored the only receiving touchdown as well in this game. And on the other side, for Sam Darnold, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 111. Rushing, not really much to speak of. Sam Darnold, Cam Akers, and Aaron Jones all finished individually with 22, which is pretty remarkable. But not really much coming from the rushing game. Justin Jefferson led all receivers with 99 yards, and Johnny Munt was the only receiver to score a receiving touchdown, and then Aaron Jones got himself a receiving touchdown as well. But the game was pretty shaky to start for Minnesota because Aaron Jones fumbled on each of Minnesota's first two drives. They recovered one of them, but they lost the other. And then, other than, that and an Arizona missed field goal, there was 5 field goals between both of these teams in the first half, and so the score was 9-6 going into halftime, obviously. Then, after that, Minnesota missed their own field goal to start the second half, and it allowed Arizona to build that lead, right, that 13-point deficit from this point on. Once Minnesota missed that field goal and Arizona tacked on a field goal and the first touchdown of the game, suddenly it was 19-13 in favor of the Cardinals. But Minnesota, luckily for them, responded right away with their own touchdown. That's super important, right, when you're down like that, to respond right away with a touchdown. It invigorates this team with a lot of life, obviously, to cut down the deficit by that much. Now it's sitting at 19-13. But after that point, after the fact that Minnesota got on the board with their first touchdown. Kyler Murray threw his first interception to start now the fourth quarter, which led to another field goal by Minnesota. So you're thinking, all right, the interception was unfortunate, but you're still leading by 3 points, right? And after the Arizona Cardinals add another field goal, now they're up by 6 points. With about 3 minutes left, Sam Darnold orchestrates an 8-play, 70-yard drive, and it culminates with Aaron Jones having a receiving touchdown there at the end to give the Minnesota Vikings their first lead of the game, now at 23-22. And still, even with the fact that it was a 1-point, game at this point in favor of the Vikings now, Arizona had a good amount of time to only go down and get a field goal with still pretty much all of their timeouts left. They had about a minute 13 left, but the last drive did not go at all very good, because after a 5-yard gain on first down, Kyler Murray was sacked and lost 8 yards on second down, so now it's third down, and they take their first timeout. And then Kyler Murray runs for 3 yards on third down, so they use another timeout, and now it's fourth down, right? And because of that, it gets into a spot where it's fourth down, and they desperately need to convert. He kind of just chucks it up, and Shaq Griffin intercepts it, which pretty much just ends the game there. So a pretty inefficient last drive, right, for the Cardinals, and it gave the Vikings this 1-point victory all in all, which is obviously huge for the Vikings because of, winning. They were able to win the turnover battle with those 2 interceptions. And I think the most important thing that I took from this game for mainly the Vikings, because I think this was a huge win for them, obviously, was the fact that their quarterback, good old Sam Darnold, right? The guy that was seeing ghosts, the guy that had a terrible experience in Carolina, the guy that just looked like a backup for the rest of his career, right, in San Francisco, backing them up. He gets another opportunity here in Minnesota with nothing really to lose. Like, he's just the bridge guy. JJ McCarthy's going to take his job sooner or later. He gets thrown right into the main character picture, right? He gets thrown into that once JJ McCarthy is out for the entire year. And he has some great performances, right? The Vikings start off hot, but still people are doubting him, right? He's not. People don't look at him as, what was he, the second pick in the draft when he was drafted? People don't look at him like that anymore. They looked at him like a guy that, he was all right. He's closer to a bust than a number 2 overall kind of pick quarterback, right? They still had their doubts. They still doubted whether or not in the biggest of moments Sam Darnold could deliver what we saw over the last couple of games, right? We saw Chicago, how he went like 9 for 9 in overtime and put them in position to win that game against the Bears on the road, much less. And then now this week you get their performance against a pretty keen Arizona Cardinals team that comes in, exciting team, exciting young defense, and they look like they're going to steal one here on your home turf, but he orchestrates another game-winning drive, gives you the lead, and now he's kind of proven it in back-to-back weeks, where I think also it's important to point out where he had an opportunity to kind of show us this back against the Rams, if you guys remember, but they didn't call a clear face mask, and they robbed him of that opportunity to kind of settle all those doubts down like weeks ago. So people still had that doubt up until now, and I think it's great to see Sam Darnold, in these big moments, against one division rival and then another team that's competing with you for playoff spots, right? To go in there, orchestrate these drives, I think it was great to see. And if anybody still has doubts, I mean, you've seen it twice now, right, at this point, and with the supporting cast the Vikings have around them, they are as legit as they come, I think. The NFC North is going to be super fun going forward. The direct head-to-head matchups are coming up, so we should be in for a great couple weeks here coming up. But overall, it was a great win for the Vikings, and we're going to leave it there, right, because of that win over the Arizona Cardinals. But we do have to talk about one more team, one more game, the Steelers defeating the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. A great offensive performance by the Steelers. We're going to go over all of that and also another disappointing performance by the Cincinnati Bengals defense. So that is coming up in just a few seconds. Don't go anywhere.